Welcome to More Fanime. I'm your fan of more anime. And today, I'm going to be reviewing chapter 101 to 125 of the BLEACH manga. Yes! We're beyond the chapter 100. We are now within the triple digits, people. And I gotta say, this manga really builds and builds and builds. Like once the writer put his foot on the gas, there really hasn't been a dull moment since maybe chapter 50, when they were still kind of establishing the world. Like they kind of were showing us who Ichigo is as a main character, and maybe some of our side characters like Chad and Orihime and Ishida. And now it feels like we're really in this fleshed out world that is BLEACH, which I still don't know why the whole thing is called BLEACH, but that's fine. I'm assuming it is nothing to do with anything in particular, unless later some villain shows up named BLEACH, like the main villain. Then I'll be like, oh, that's why he called it BLEACH. I'm not sure exactly, but these 25 chapters were probably my favorite 25 chapters so far, to be honest with you. From 101 to 125, let's get into it. It actually changed my mind, these 25 chapters, because I thought maybe Renji was my favorite character in this series, but no, I don't think so. I don't think it's Renji. I think it might be Kenpachi, if that's how you say his name. Kenpachi Zaraki, as I read it here in front of you. This guy is a badass incarnate. This guy is awesome, to say the least. I love his look. I love the fact that he like hinders himself, like putting bells on his hair. He wears an eye patch he doesn't necessarily need, so that his opponent has a better chance of actually giving him a challenge. He doesn't awaken his Zanpakuto because he knows that he doesn't need... I think he did it because he's like, I don't need that power. I'm me. I don't rely on anybody. Even though he does have like this little girl that like sits on his shoulder that's like his buddy. Kenpachi, or Kenny, as she likes to call him, is got to have had the best fight in the series so far against our main character, Ichigo. I will be very sad if Kenny doesn't come back later in the series to be a main character, to have major battles going forward. I feel like there's still more to be learned about Kenpachi. He seems like a grizzled veteran of the Soul Society. This guy is pretty dang OP, to say the least. The fact that he doesn't use a fully fleshed out name, Zanpakuto, and he just used a rusted, non-sharpened, jagged sword to fight with, and the fact that he uses this eye patch that keeps his spirit energy low, or it eats his spirit energy because he's got so much spirit energy. He's kind of similar to how Ichigo is. He's got all this power and nowhere to put it, so he's got to like drain it slowly. He's just too powerful to handle. Like, I would like to know how strong Kenpachi would be against Rukia's brother, Byakuya. Because he supposedly, so far, as revealed, is the strongest opponent that we should face sooner or later. And I wonder how they compare, how they stack up. Because if Byakuya is even twice as strong as Kenpachi, Ichigo is going to have a problem, to say the very least. These two went at it. Like, Ichigo couldn't even lay a scratch on this guy. Kenpachi was like, go ahead, take a free shot. You can have the first cut, strike wherever you want. And he couldn't even cut the guy at first. His little girl that sits on his shoulder, Kenny's little girl, her little friend, he's like, it's like you can't cut Kenny. It's almost like your sword has no edge to it, which is just absolutely nutty. But these two go at it in a barbaric man battle, and Kenpachi just has some of the best I love his facial features, his smile. He really loves battle. He has like almost a bloodlust. He wants to have he doesn't seem to care so much about capturing these invaders of the Soul Society as much as he wants to have a drawn out, challenging fight with Ichigo. And one of his subordinates, the bald guy from the last review, is the one who told him, hey, this guy is not no slouch. Ichigo's got some skills. Ichigo ends up basically losing in the first part of the fight with Kenpachi, whereas Kenpachi stabs his sword through Ichigo's zanpakuto. And Ichigo, like, almost dies again. And his sword, his zanpakuto, the thing that lives in that sword, the spirit, wakes him up in this weird, zanpakuto world, and Ichigo has to have a duel with himself, essentially. This evil version of himself with these blacked out eyes with white pupils. At least that's what it looks like in the manga. And he has to fight him with a regular-ass sword against this dude that has his zanpakuto. And these two battle it out. And this evil version, or at least evil-looking version of Ichigo, starts swinging his zanpakuto like a fucking ceiling fan. And Ichigo's like, whoa, I should have thought of that. It looked really cool. These two go at it. Eventually, Ichigo's like, hey, zanpakuto, please give me another chance. I'm sorry. Basically, he explains to Ichigo, hey, you didn't train me to become stronger. You only trained yourself to become stronger, and we are a team, and you're basically not you're one of those guys who thinks the only one that he has to train is himself, when really we got to work together. We're a duo here. So Ichigo stands back up with more power than he's ever had before. Almost, I don't want to say it felt contrived, but he was just like, yeah, I'm okay now, because my sword says so. Which is fine. I like Ichigo. He gets back up. He's jacked up with some power. But before we leave the sword spirit world thing, evil Ichigo says something pretty intriguing. He says, he's strong, Zangetsu. Raise him well, because his power will be mine eventually. And I'm like, what? Who is this evil Ichigo? I thought maybe he was just some fake construct that was created for Ichigo to duel, but it seems like he's got a mind of his own. Will this evil Ichigo make an appearance? I feel like it has something to do with the hollow mask that keeps showing up when Ichigo fights. That hollow face mask that happened the first time he unlocked his true Soul Reaper abilities. So Ichigo versus Kenpachi round 2 goes on. Kenpachi takes off his damn eye patch thing, which makes me sad it's not a real eye patch, because I love the piratey look he had going on, and I do hope he still includes the eye patch in his regular look going forward, just to, keep his power down. So they go at it again, and eventually Ichigo gets the win this time. He breaks Kenpachi's sword, and Kenpachi even says, like, I want to be strong. Like, it's been so long since I've been challenged to the point where I want to train and become stronger than I have ever. It's been a while since he's been motivated, basically. And this guy, Kenpachi, is basically going to start working on giving his zanpakuto a name, or calling it its name. So next time we see Kenny, my prediction is he's going to have a real, true zanpakuto, which kind of, I'm not sure where I'm at with that, because it's awesome that he's going to get a little bit of a power-up, I'm assuming, but also, and we'll get to see him again, which is dope. But I'm also like, I kind of liked his lone wolf persona. The fact that he doesn't need no zanpakuto. He's powerful as it is. Why would he even bother? He just should train himself. I know that's the whole story, like you got to work together with your magical spirit sword, but this dude was a beast. He kind of reminds me of like a dude that probably wasn't as strong when he was growing up, but he worked his ass off to be as powerful as he possibly could be by himself. And I want to see more of that. But I really enjoyed this battle. Easily my favorite fight. I would say Ichigo versus Kenny, and then Ichigo versus Renji. I know they just happened, but they were so good. They kind of are similar though. Like both times Ichigo ended up down and out. He luckily gets saved by the cat, who turns out to be a lady. The cat that's been following them around, the like Sabrina style cat, has turned out to be a lady that used to be a damn Soul Reaper and lived in the Soul Reaper Society. Her name is Yoroshi Shihor. I will not be able to. Yoroshi, whatever. The cat lady is actually this beautiful cat person that can transform into a cat, and she's kind of hiding her real appearance. Turns out I think they were trying to make you think the cat was a dude, because they referred to it as a he, and even Ichigo was like, what is happening? And was kind of embarrassed when she transformed in front of him and she was completely naked. But whatever. She basically wants to train. She saves Ichigo's life, but he's pretty messed up from his fight with Kenny, which was basically a draw. I don't even know if I'd say that Ichigo won that fight. He did knock Kenny down, but Kenny probably will survive without any true medical attention, whereas Ichigo really needs some rest. So, another fight that happens during this time is our boy Chad goes head-to-head with a true Soul Reaper captain guy. This dude that's wearing like this straw hat thing, or like classic samurai straw hat thingy. And his name is Kairaku Shunsui. This guy is pretty cool. He almost reminds me of like a hippie stoner type of fella. He really didn't even want to fight Chad. He shows up after Chad literally wrecks some lower rank Soul Reaper shit right in front of him. He shows up, pops down, takes a seat, and he says, hey man, I don't want to fight you, Chad. We do learn a little bit about Chad's past, about how he met Ichigo, and how that he actually got his nickname Chad from Ichigo, which is pretty interesting. I really like Chad, and then the more I see him, the more he gets character development. I like him more and more as a main good guy, and I hope that he survives the Rescue Rukia arc, and I hope that he gets even stronger, because they show how powerful Chad's punches are. He just doesn't have the precision. Like, when he's trying to fight this Shunsui guy that shows up and just wants to have a couple drinks and chillax until, you know, this battle with these humans is over. He's like, hey man, let's just relax. You don't really stand a chance against me. You're strong, but you can't beat me. I'm a captain. You know, you're not the main character. But Chad realizes that Ichigo's in trouble and starts throwing haymakers with his crazy armored fist thingy. And this dude just dodges and dodges and dodges. Slowly, Chad's spirit energy is going to run out. But every time he throws these punches, like, things behind Shusui start exploding. Like, he's like, man, I'm glad those aren't hitting me, because I would probably be in danger if you could actually land a fucking punch. Chad does end up losing to this guy. But this guy seems like an actually genuinely nice fella. So Chad's lucky there that he ran into somebody that isn't just going to straight up wreck his face or cut his fucking head off. But I mean, he's like, I'm not here to kill you. I'm going to take you in. I'm doing my motherfucking job. Shisui seems pretty dope. And like I said, he kind of reminds me of a hippy-dippy type of fella. And I do like his character. I hope we get to learn more about him. He seems like a nice Soul Reaper. And we haven't seen a whole bunch of nice Soul Reapers. And he's one of the top captain dudes. So it's got to mean something. The firework dude that's hanging out with Ichigo, he went and he basically saves Rukia. He makes it to Rukia's fucking cage, breaks her out, and then realizes she's the one that killed his brother. Kain Shiba? She killed him, showed up, and she's like, I am indeed the Soul Reaper who killed your brother. And she doesn't even deny it. So I'm assuming there's a reason behind it. There's a reason she's taking the blame for this dude's death. Rukia is a good person. We all know that. I do not for any instant think that she killed him out of bloodlust or just being a psychopath. I don't think she did it on purpose. It must have been something where she had to lie about his death for a particular reason, but he doesn't want to save her as much anymore because he loved his brother, and he's like, I don't want to save this bitch. She killed my brother, and that's the only. I mean, it's understandable. Her brother shows up pretty quickly after that, and they're kind of fucked because he will take Rukia down and the whole crew down unless Ichigo can show up, but Ichigo's in basically critical condition and cannot help them in any way, shape, or form. So when Byakuya shows up, he's like, hey, I'm the captain of the 6th company. Are you really gonna fight me? The one Soul Reaper kid, the little medic Soul Reaper kid, tries to stop him, but ends up, he can't do anything. But the firework dude actually shows up. I can't remember his name. And he's like, okay, pretty boy, you gotta get past me if you want to get Rukia. Even though she did kill, his brother. And somehow this dude, Byakuya, pulls his Zanpakuto out and calls its name Zenbon Sakura. Zakura with a Z, not Sakura. 1,000 cherry blossoms. And his sword evaporates into little fucking white dusts, at least in the manga. It's hard to tell because there's no color. And then this dude goes down. He gets sliced up horribly. He's I'm Shiba is the dude that's fighting him. He gets wrecked. He gets absolutely destroyed. Meanwhile, we do get to see that that mask I was mentioning earlier, the hollow mask, reappeared within Ichigo's robes. He's like, hey, how did this... She's basically like, this mask saved your life. Because it blocked some of the sword strikes from Kenny. And he's like, I threw that mask away. How did it come back? And the cat lady is like, hey, maybe I should hang on to this. And he's like, but it's mine. He's like, no, I'm going to hang on to this. Ichigo ends up bouncing and using her little fly. She had like a rope that helps her fly. He takes that, using it to fly, shows up, and he's like, hey, Byakuya, you're pretty full of yourself. You didn't attack while Rukia and I were chatting, because he shows up and he talks to Rukia for a hot minute. He's like, I'm here to save you, whether you like it or not. And Rukia's like, why are you here? You don't stand a chance. She even remembers someone else telling her, I've gotten stronger. I can do this. And I'm assuming that's the brother of Shiba. And he's like, you are not going to be able to beat Byakuya. I'm sorry. I almost want Ichigo to fail this mission fighting him. I almost want Rukia to be executed. I know that won't happen because she is our second main character in this series, number 2, even though we haven't seen her do anything of technical importance, in fights or anything. She's kind of the one who gives us information about the Soul Society when she's around. But maybe when she gets freed, she'll get her powers back and we'll actually get to see her in a battle. I really would love to see her and Ichigo team up in a 2-on-2 fight or a 2-on-1 fight. Maybe that's how they're going to end this, where she and Ichigo have to work together to beat Byakuya. I don't know. Byakuya is kind of a mystery. The fact that his sword disappeared and then completely wrecked the shit of Shiba was like, whoa, dude, calm your shit. He's not even a Soul Reaper. But Ichigo was, too beat up, I would say, to even help save Rukia. Luckily, Cat Lady shows up before the fight can really get going, wraps up Byakuya's sword before he could summon the fucking cherry blossom attack, and says, hey, and they all recognize her as Yorichi, and basically says, whoa, she's a legendary Soul Reaper, former captain. What do we do? And she's like, hey, I'm going to take Ichigo, whether you like it or not, because you can't catch me, because I'm assuming she's fast and she's tough. I want to see her fight Byakuya. I'm assuming she can't win is the reason she won't do it. She's got to be pretty tough. She seems pretty tough. I would love to see this fight. Her and Byakuya going one-on-one, even if she lost. I think she asked for 3 days. 3 days to train Ichigo up before the execution. Like, let me train him up and he'll come beat your ass. But there's a lot of captains, not just him. Like, you can't just make that deal. Even if it's possible, even if she can train him in a few days to get Ichigo to the level of Byakuya, which seems literally impossible with how powerful this guy is and how he barely skated by against Renji and Kenny and is literally in critical condition. It seems improbable that she'll be able to get Ichigo at that level in a few days. Even if that happens, and he's able to beat him in a fair one-on-one fight, there are like a dozen captains that are probably, or at least 3 or 4 of them that are on his level as well, I'm assuming, that can show up and just wreck house and just capture Ichigo at a weakened state, because he probably won't be feeling good after his fight. After 3 main event fights in a row, being in the Soul Society. I'm very curious to what's going to happen after we save Rukia and get out of the Soul Society. Like, are we just going to go back to fighting regular-ass Hollows? Because it feels like a Hollow ain't going to be shit at this point. It's even the super mega Hollow that's like a giant kaiju, I don't believe is going to be a problem for the super duper version of Ichigo. Renji did mention that, like, when Soul Reapers go to the human world, though, they are weakened, like 5 times weaker than they normally are. Speaking of Renji is actually shown speaking to his Zanpakuto monkey spirit and mentioning that Ichigo is no longer his enemy. And his spirit, his sword basically asks, well, who will you be fighting now? And there's like this thing going on. I have a feeling Renji's going to be like the Vegeta of this series, because he was like a former enemy. He's even got the Widow's Peak going on. He's pretty badass looking, but he's got to take the back seat for me as a favorite character. I'm sorry. Like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, Kenpachi is my guy. He's my favorite character in this series, and I don't think it's going to change, because he's just that grizzled old vet that's worked his ass off to get everything he's got, and I respect the shit out of that. And I'm worried that they're going to make Renji some like emo guy that's like, I can't be as strong, and I love Rukia. I don't know. Just a theory. Remember, this is my first time experiencing Bleach. If this is your first time listening to my videos, I don't know what's going to happen next, in the next 25 chapters. So, luckily, Ichigo gets away, but it's not the end of these 25 chapters. Like, the last 5 or 6 chapters actually center around, Ishidai actually gets to have a main event battle. Just like Chad, except he's actually capable of fighting him. Ishidai Yuryu is going to go head to head with Mayuri, this fucking scientist captain dude. This guy is insane. He's the captain of the 12th Division. He uses people in his crew to basically get what he wants. This dude is a psycho. He looks like he's had some body modifications from the way his face and body, unless it's just like face paint, but it looks like he's modified himself. He's definitely modified parts of his body for sure, because he like stretches out his arm and does some crazy moves. Ishidai pulls out some crazy attacks I never expected. I really like Ishidai, and I thought he was going to be one of my favorite characters, but I'm not sure if he's going to make it out of this arc with his powers, because when this ends, when this arc or these 25 chapters ends, like it basically says, hey, if you use this attack, you're not going to be able to use your your Quincy powers ever again. He basically pulls the trigger. He pulls the pin off the grenade. Like there's some flashbacks of him training, and this is his ultimate attack, and he summons like a super bow and arrow. I love the fact that he's an archer. You don't see a lot of really strong archers in anime that often, and I love that he is basically the closest to being as strong as Ichigo as part of the Earthling team, and I like that they have that going for him. He's kind of got that Sasuke look to him, but he doesn't have as much of a emo attitude. He does want to, you know, bring honor to the Quincy name and whatnot. And this dude, this fucking mayor guy, this scientist dude, he performed like diabolical surgeries and dissections of Quincy's. He even tells Orihime, I want you to be one of my scientific projects. You come with me, and I'll only dissect you a couple times a day or something. And I'll do it like sparingly, and I'll keep you alive. And they're like, get out of here, Orihime. Right before they even start fighting, this dude throws a bunch of Soul Reapers in and basically uses them as suicide bombers. And they didn't even realize they were strapped with bombs. He explodes them, and the only reason they survive is because of Orihime's crazy little fairies that come out of her head. He ends up chopping through his own experiment. This lady that follows him around, he like slices through her with his crazy looking creepy ass Zanpakuto called Jizo. It's pretty brutal looking. It's got like 3 points to it. He stabs through it and hits Yurio Ishidai. And this guy is a psychopath. He created this girl. She's kind of like that teddy bear guy back on Earth who was a fake soul. He uses her as basically a meat slave, and he calls her his daughter. And he even at one point says, this will be as easy as strangling a baby, which I wouldn't put it past this guy, this Mairyu guy, of actually strangling a child, a literal baby. But our boy Ishidai says, on my honor as a Quincy, I'm going to kill you. And he pulls, like I said, he pulls out his ultimate weapon, this cray-cray, like almost wing-like energy, spirit, everything he's ever had, basically all the Quincy power he will ever obtain in his lifetime comes out. And then this Mairyu guy summons his awoken sword. He awakens his blade, and this giant, almost baby-like head pops up, which is creepy as all heck. And they're about to go at it for real this time. I mean, Ishidai's already taken some major damage from this dude and his crazy 3-point sword. I'm really hoping that he's able to kill Mayuri. Like, if this is his last fight, if this is the Quincy's last battle, I hope that he's able to beat this guy and eradicate him, because he's an absolute terrible person. What he does to people, experimenting on them, using them as suicide bombers, it's brutal as all heck. This guy is probably the most evil person we've met so far in this series. Yeah. I would say so. I wouldn't be surprised if this guy's the dude that killed, I can't remember his name, but he was another captain of one of the Soul Reaper Society, and he was all like hung up and stabbed against a wall in their last review. I wouldn't be surprised if this guy did that. He's kind of a psycho. I hope he goes down. It's going to be an interesting battle going forward. I'm excited to see Ishidai at his fullest possible potential. I hope somehow, some way, he's able to tap back into his Quincy powers if he loses them. I would be surprised if the manga writer was just like, okay, I've got all these new characters now, like Kenny and Renji, who are probably going to turn into good guys. I mean, they weren't terrible people to begin with, but I have a feeling those two, they're kind of being set up as anti-heroes going forward. Probably going to end up teaming up with Ichigo, fingers crossed, down the line. Or having major fights with other guys down the line. I hope, maybe, I hope so. Maybe he thinks, well, I introduced Ishidai back around, the chapters 26 to 50, but maybe I don't need him, because I've got all these badass Soul Reapers now, and maybe I don't need this Ishidai guy who probably isn't much of a rival for Ichigo anymore in any way, shape, or form, so maybe we let him go. And plus I have Chad and Orihime who have more connections to Ichigo. I mean, Ishidai making the ultimate sacrifice here would make a lot of sense, honestly, and would shock the fuck out of me, and honestly move Bleach up in my favorite anime rankings for sure. And it might get me excited for the future. If the mangaka is willing to introduce a character and then 75 chapters later take him out in his give him his ultimate battle, like fulfill his story as a Quincy and then end it, I'd be pretty shocked, and I'd be pretty excited to know he's willing to do that kind of permanent death type thing. I'm a big fan of permadeath in video games, and if that's going to happen here, I'm here for it. Even though I like his character, we need to lose something. It would kind of suck for Rukia to know that someone lost their life, though, for her, to save her, so maybe that wouldn't be good for her character. Maybe he'll survive, but he won't be able to fight anymore, which also would be kind of chill. We'll see what happens. I'm Mr. Morfetto. This is Morphanime. What do you think of Bleach? What do you think of Ishidai? What do you think of these crazy Soul Reaper captains? Where were you when you first watched or read this? Because I'm in the middle of having a heart attack to find out what's going to happen next. So I better get started to the reading, peoples. I'll talk to you later.